Nori, Nohores, Tangyang, we was saying, Nori Kodimare, Sokawe. I trust that you give me permission to speak, and so if you do, I will, and if you don't, I won't. Hey, that's a rhyme, that could be a song, and do I have your permission? Okay, is this the machine that drives that? Yeah, it is. Honoring our past and shaping our future. Well, there's a lot to shaping our future in homes, and I was in a housing forum, and people were talking about mobile homes and mobile home this, mobile home that, and so they were wondering, well, I wonder who devised the mobile home. I said, I know who invented the mobile home. It was my brothers and sisters, the tribal nations that moved from place to place. So people in the Great Plains area, people in the plains, people in the open areas, they devised the mobile home because they moved from place to place. And they carried their teepees and their buildings. So think about mobile homes came from Indian country, folks. Now you know. And so why is home ownership so important? I'll spend a little bit of time, and these are the things that I'll cover. Why housing and home ownership? Tribal leaders' role in creating an opportunity for housing choice, and Tribal Leaders' Handbook on home ownership that has been developed and it's available now. So why home ownership? Number one is that there is a demand. And if you think about your own communities, there's a demand not so much for the elders because they probably already have their homes established, but the younger age group, the ones that already have families. And we all know that sometimes our children and the grandchildren are also living in the same homes. It's fine with me because I love my family, and so I don't want to see them move away and they keep saying, Papa, Mom wants us to move, and I said, don't move, just stay here. There's enough room in this house. But it's not the same case in many other areas, so there is a demand for tribal members who want to own their own homes because that is the meaning of what it can set up the sovereignty part for the tribes as has been described throughout this session. Capacity. American Indians and Alaska Natives, increasing incomes and credit scores. There is an increase in the incomes of our children, and their credit scores are getting better. There are ways to improve the credit score, but it's based on the performance of the children. And so I'll talk about a little bit about how that can happen. The culture and the community. Making Indian country, homelands, a place to raise families. That's the most important part. Is that you have a roof over your head. You have a roof over your head for your children. That's a home, safe place. That's the right forum and right environment to raise the children. Shouldn't be in a torn down home. They shouldn't be in a home that's too overcrowded. Each family should have their own home. The resources. Home ownership keeps rentals for neediest families. And that's important because the list of needs, how many families need home, keeps growing on us. I know that Ohkay Owingeh, when we were doing our, when the Nahaza came out some time ago, we had a list of 80 families that needed homes. And we can't wait around for additional funding. It's hard to find the funding. So we said, how can we make an impact for 80 families? And so the Tribal Council and the Housing Authority got together and they said, hey, we've lived like this in the past. Our home plaza, traditional plaza, was not a one-story building. It's several stories. And so if we take that initiative, the close-knit families and close extended families are going to live in the same area. So we said, if we do an apartment style home development, so that's what we put in place. And so we were able to make an impact on that needs, 80 families. And the first shot, we were able to help 40 families right off the bat when we built the home. So that's innovative, but it's not so innovative because our ancestors were already doing that. So, but that's just one solution. Continue a little bit. That the tribal members can afford homes. It's having our family members improve their credit scores and improve their income levels. That number is a good number, 40%, but what about the other 60%? We've got to worry about the families, and so that's what this whole presentation is about. But what it does is that you have a lot of homeowners, it improves the reservation economies and promotes self-determination, just by virtue of that very fact of being a homeowner. There's no rule that says they must reside on tribal land. That rule's not applicable. They can reside next to the tribal land, but that's where the tribal innovation comes in. And I know for a fact that there's a lot of tribes going out and buying land so that they can build homes, but yet they're close to the community which they came from. There's a joke in tribal council, our tribal council, that there's a lot of land sales right next to where we are, and for whatever reason, the old council, I think, was afraid of giving money to go buy land. And so the land that we did buy, we bought it when the land price went sky high. And so the joke is that when we don't buy land available somewhere, we say, oh, it's not high price enough, so we won't buy it. So that's what the council means. Say, well, we're going to buy that piece. No, it doesn't cost enough yet. We finally got the gist of that, and so now we're buying land wherever we can. And I think it's important that the tribe make that as part of their plan, so that if you don't use it for residential, you can also use it for businesses and whatnot. So that's important. The tribal leaders, what can we do? Well, establish requisite legal infrastructure and land management systems. One of the things that tribes need to do, if they haven't already done it, is that they should conduct and implement comprehensive strategic planning and land use planning. Think about your own tribe. If you've not done a land use plan for the next 10 or 20 years or 25 years, then we're going to be rushing around when the time comes. So it's important that you do that comprehensive planning, and it'll guide the way for your improved efforts for your tribal members. What else can we do? There should be surveys. The community should be surveyed to understand housing needs and home ownership capacity. So the stats come from studies, but the studies are kind of, doesn't directly apply to your home community. If you can do that and have the tribal government do that, your housing authority or whoever's been delegated that responsibility, you can get that data that is directly applicable to your case. And that will help you with your strategic planning. Develop partnership with lenders and developers. I was in a session yesterday with some new rulings about lenders. And so there's opportunity for lenders to promote, it's about the 184 program, where I guess they don't have enough lenders out there. for whatever reason, but what's happening right now is that there are plans to bring in more lenders to the tribal communities, so that's a good effort to help within the 184 program. Now for the veterans, you know, the veterans also have benefits, but it's always been a hard thing to find a financial institution, a lender basically, to provide funding for a veteran guaranteed loan to get a home. I remember in my case, I struggled with every institution that was around, but this was back in 1973 or no, 78, 80 time frame. And even though I had guaranteed VA benefit, nobody would touch me. And so I just happened to know one of the bankers, and he said, "You're from right down the road. I know where you live, where you now live, and I'll probably know where you're gonna put your home if you get a home." And so he said, "I'm gonna give you the loan." And so he set up the loan, but what's sad about that is that veterans have a benefit and they're not given that benefit. So it's the fault of the system. But in this case, at least the 184 is a new program that's online. It's been around for a little while, but I think they are developing a better system so that there are more lenders so that they can help Indian country. A tribal leader's handbook on home ownership was talked about for a while, and it's now come to fruition. It's available. And the place you can find that handbook is at the Minneapolis ED.org/Indian Country. There were some given out in some of the forums, but that is a good handbook. It gives you the insights and the sort of the 101 for tribal leaders to help you move forward in providing for your family members. It's a good handbook. I've read through it, and I had help in getting it developed, but that will be available, and so order your copy, or have your housing authorities order several copies and pass them out to your tribal councilmen and your tribal leaders, and spread the word that it's out. That's the end of my presentation, but thank you for listening, and remember that home ownership means a lot, especially to our young ones, because they're the group that needs it the most. And so what we can do as tribal leaders is to support our tribal members and the families that we are in charge. That's our job. Protect your family members, and we'll do so, and this will be another sign that we're doing our job. So thank you very much.
All right, so Joe, we, on behalf of NCAI, we have another gift. We depend on him so many, I'm not sure he's doing all these things. But we always deeply appreciate you. You're so engaged in Indian country, not just homeland, home issues and challenges in transportation. He's on the transportation negotiation team as well, so he's very active in all of the different corridors of Indian country.
Yeah, they passed out a message yesterday from the FCC, and we established some years ago a group, tribal leader task force, and a tribal leader group that talks about broadband and telecommunication throughout Indian country. Now, we made some impact in that, but they refreshed the applications, and so people applied, and somebody submitted my name to be on that group again, and so I was selected along with President Joe. He's been selected on that telecom group too, and so we're going to continue to make impact when it comes to telecom, broadband, and whatnot. So if you have any telecommunication need, get a hold of us, and we'll do what we can, especially my Alaskan friends, brothers. We need to make a lot more impact up in Alaska, and we'll do so. So thank you.